What's going on, everybody? Here we are, it's another week at the Home Theater Hobbyist, and this week we have our full review of this AV receiver. This is the Pioneer Elite VSX-LX103. So let's get to it. I finally had the opportunity to try out a Pioneer AVR in my room, and to be honest, I was not disappointed. This receiver is from Pioneer's Elite line, and their Elite line represents the higher end of the Pioneer AVRs. It's supposed to have a better build quality and some other components that make it better than their other AVRs. This receiver is a 7-channel receiver, and what that means is it has 7 amplifiers in the box so that you can drive up to 7 speakers. And I recommend 7-channel amplifiers for everybody, whether you are just starting out or you're upgrading. Yet again, you need at least 7 channels. That way you can basically have the room to grow with one box. If you have a 5-channel system and you decide to add in some high channels so you can do Dolby Atmos DTS:X so you can hear things from above, or you want to do some rear surrounds, you can do that with one box, and this box actually does it. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about the specifications of this box. Before we move on to specifications, I do want to say one thing. I am selling this AVR, so if you want to purchase it, hit me up in the comment section, or you can check out that eBay link in the description below. Now let's move on to specifications. This is a 7.2 channel receiver, and that means it has 7 channels of amplification in the box, and it can output signals to 2 subwoofers. It also outputs 80 watts per channel, 2 channels driven. It can decode Dolby Atmos and DTS:X audio processing. It passes through HDR10, HLG, and Dolby Vision. It has 6 HDMI inputs that support wide color gamut and HD CP 2.2, and 1 HDMI output. It uses Pioneer's automatic room calibration software known as MC-ACC, or Multi-Channel Acoustic Calibration System. It includes their Flare Connect multi-room audio, which allows you to place compatible speakers in various rooms throughout your home and play the same music or different music depending on your preferences. It also has DTS Play-Fi, which also does basically the same thing. Both of these features are a lot like Sonos if you're not familiar with them. It also has Chromecast built in, so you can play audio from your receiver using Chromecast-enabled apps. And it works with Google Assistant, so you can give voice commands and tell your AV receiver what you want it to do. This receiver also features many different streaming music services, including TuneIn, Pandora, Spotify, Deezer, and Tidal. You can control your music server with it, and like I said, it's got Flare Connect, Chromecast built in, DTS Play, Fly, and AirPlay. So let's talk about this AV receiver. As you can see, it is a black box, as your traditional AV receivers go, and it looks just fine. I will say that it's not very big. It's not super heavy either. It is, let's see, about 13 inches deep by 17 inches wide and just under 7 inches tall. So if you're putting it in your standard AV cabinet, it should fit. Now, it does have these antennas on the back for the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signal, and they can rotate side to side and down if you need them to. So that's really good. It makes it really, really convenient. Along the front panel, this looks really good. This has a brushed finish, not brushed metal, just brushed. And I think this is really plastic. But along the front panel, you have a host of components. You have your power button down here, your input selection here, your master volume switch here, so you can turn it that way. You've got headphones, your setup mic, which comes in the box. You plug that in there. You have buttons along here, dimmer, zone control, home menu, tune, and you also have your different sound modes here. Auto, so you can get to whatever is on your disc and play that out directly, such as Dolby Atmos or DTS:X, surround mode, stereo mode, sound retriever, and pure direct. Down here at the bottom, you have a USB connection and an auxiliary input. Now, one thing this does not have along the front panel is an HDMI input. I've had that on my other receivers, and it is quite handy in my opinion. I don't use it very often, but sometimes I just want to plug something in really quick, maybe a little camera or something like that, so I can look at videos or pictures or anything, and this doesn't have it. You'd have to go around the back. Now, if you move up to this receiver's big brothers, the LX303 or the 503, they both have HDMI inputs along the front panel. And speaking about the front panel, this is not a door. I thought it was when I first saw it, but it's not. And I think the reason why they have this cut out like this, like it's a door, is so that it looks the same as a lot of the other Elite receivers. If you were to step up to this big brother, or the big brother of this receiver, the LX503, it does have a door that drops down and it hides a lot of these buttons behind that door. But I think for cost saving measures, they decided not to put a door here, and they also decided not to put an HDMI along the front panel. Moving on to the rear panel, you have the host of connections that you would expect in a modern AVR. Like I said, you've got your antennas here, and like they fold down, they fold out like that, and they fold side to side. You have a network connection, USB, coax cable, your antennas for your AM and FM radio, your different audio ends for RCA cables, your video in using component cables, your speaker connections, here your HDMI inputs along the top. You've got subwoofer here and your pre-outs for your extra zone. You also have connections for RS-232 and your triggers for a add-on amplifier, and of course your power connection there. This box is vented along the top and bottom, no vents on the side, and I haven't seen any fans. Now, honestly, I haven't noticed any issues with heat. I did put my hand over it one time just to check it, and it seemed fine when it was running hard. No issues or anything like that. Moving on, let's talk about the remote. Now, this remote feels pretty good in the hand. It's just black plastic. It doesn't have any indentions on the back for your fingers. It does have a little indention there, but it's not really for a finger or anything like that. But here it is, and on the top you have your power button. Also, this is not backlit, so if you want a backlit remote, this is not it, okay? Up top you've got a source selection, you've got your arrows so you can select different things in the menu, along with an enter button, a volume up and down button, which is pretty large and nice so you can find it in the dark. And along the bottom you have buttons for your different surround modes, surround sound modes, a play, pause, track forward, track back buttons, and a few other little buttons that you need. But it has all the functions you need, but not every function. So it works, it's pretty cool. This receiver also supports Pioneer's app, so you can put the app on your phone or on your tablet, as with most other systems, and you can control things like your source selection, the music streaming services, and things like that. I'll probably do a follow-up video talking more about that one. Now let's talk setup. Setting this up was pretty easy. I pulled my other receiver out and I connected all of my speaker connections and HDMI cables to this receiver. It went pretty quickly, just over a few minutes, and it was done. Now, once I turned everything on, I went through Pioneer's initial setup, and I really liked it. The first thing it did was it told you everything that it was going to do. It went through a list of, I think, 5 things, telling you exactly what you were going to do and the order in which you were going to do them. And I thought that was really nice because it was really reassuring knowing exactly what was going to happen. Now, the first thing I did was it asked me to tell it what my speaker setup was. And it was really nice because it went through all of the different setups that you can do with this receiver, from a 2-channel, 2.0 channel, all the way to 7.2 channels and everything in between. So it had things like you can go with a 2.2 configuration. So let's say you've got 2 speakers on the side, 2 high speakers, and 2 subwoofers. It went all the way through all of those different permutations of the setup, and I thought that was pretty cool. Next, it actually went through and it did the room calibration. It asked me to plug in the mic and do the MCACC, calibration, and that went really well. Now, that calibration is a single seat calibration. So even though you have multiple seats in your room, it is going to optimize for one single seat. And that took about 10 minutes. And like I said, it went well. I didn't have any issues with it there. After that, it went through the network connection, which I didn't really do because it didn't really need to be connected, and I was ready to go. So all in all, setup took maybe 30 minutes, and it was really easy. So I have to give Pioneer a thumbs up for their setup. Now, let's move on. Let's do a couple of sound samples so you can hear how things sound with this, and I'll give you my impressions.
Do we just leave him? He'll catch up. Sorry!
Autopilot driving system activated.
Wait! Which side of the road is it?
For God's sake, just drive.
Okay, calm down.
Okay, so you've listened to the sound samples. Hopefully you enjoyed those, and let's talk about my impressions. Overall, I like this receiver. Everything sounds clear and concise. I didn't have any issues with it. The entire week that I had it, I listened to it only using the MCC, the room calibration software's settings. I didn't change anything. I wanted to hear how it sound if it just did the room calibration and nothing else. And like I said, it sounds great. It sounds good. One of the things that I've noticed when you have different room calibration software, sometimes they don't set the center channel volume correctly. And this one did that, which was nice. So what I mean by that is sometimes when you're watching a movie, it's hard to hear the vocals that are coming out the center channel because it's too low. Well, with this one, I did not have that problem. Everything came through clear and nice. Now, one of the things I was concerned about with this is a little bit lower in power. So at 80 watts per channel, I was a little concerned that I wouldn't be able to hear some things or it wouldn't sound really good. And at normal listening levels, it sounds great. I didn't have any issues. Like I said, everything sounds clear. Now, once you get closer to reference level, you can tell it starts to run out of power, especially when you're running 7-channel. Because one of the things I did was I ran 7-channel music instead of just doing my 2-channel stereo. And I noticed that at the higher end, you could tell it was running out a little bit and maybe getting a little bit of distortion there in the mid range. But otherwise, it sounds really good. So if you're listening to it at standard, normal listening levels, I would say, you'll be fine. There's no issues with power with this receiver. So my overall impressions, the pros and cons. The pros of this are the easy setup, the CEC, and it has very, very clear audio. There's no issues there. It also has a ton of features. At this price point, I'm not sure if you can buy anything that has this many features, from multi-room music to internet radio to Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, Dolby Vision, all of those things. So you'll be pretty future-proof if you decide to go with this receiver, which is a definite pro. Now, the only cons that I found were the lack of the HDMI input along the front, the lack of a backlit remote, which again is not really that big of a deal, and also it's a little lacking in power if you listen at reference levels. Now, honestly, I don't think most people do because that is really loud. But if you do, you may want to go with this one's big brother, maybe the 503, something like that. But otherwise, this is a really good receiver, and I recommend this for anybody that is just getting in the market, or you just want an upgrade to your current receiver and you listen at normal levels. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. Consider supporting us at patreon.com/hometheaterhobby, or use that Amazon affiliate link in the description below. We'll talk to you next time.